Hello and welcome to another episode of SuggesTing. Today we are diving into the Uncharted series. Will this Indiana Jones / Tomb Raider-like experience hold up to its fame? Find out whether or not I'll be suggesting to you Uncharted: The Nathan Drake Collection. Uncharted, made by the company at this point that brought us Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, decided to head into the puzzle third-person genre for their flagship title on the PlayStation 3. This was an absolutely massive shift in their approach to games, and seeing how Uncharted 1 to 3 changes is the definition of glow-up. However, this is another series that fell victim to my brother's deleting, which means I never got to play them, and with release after release of other games, and streaming it fell under the wayside. Then, looking at these backlog of games I need to play, I asked the community on Twitch about Uncharted. Should I just make a video or stream it too? And the response was insane, and I couldn't help but start immediately. This will be a hard one to combine together because I feel like the games got better and better, but I will try to cover our usual areas for each game with a very quick roundup of the stories for all of them. So expect this whole video to be spoiler filled. If you don't want to know it, play the game, and come back and see if we agree. Now let's speed through the story of each game. Ready? Let's go! Uncharted 1 begins with Nathan Drake and Elena, a reporter looking at his latest find in the sea, which is Sir Francis Drake's coffin. Confirming what Nathan believed to be true, he faked his death and there is a journal documenting where he's going. However, the celebration was cut short when some pirates attack. You fight them off, losing your ship, but it's okay because you meet Drake's partner in crime, Sully.
I can't leave you alone for a minute, can I?
Who has a plane, so he flies you out. At the nearest place you can stop though, you ditch Elena because the last thing you need is her with a film crew. Drake and Sully will follow this journal to search for the infamous El Dorado, the city of gold. However, it's more like a statue, but still worth a fortune. You are now journeying through solving the occasional puzzle when you discover a German U-boat on a waterfall. Bloody eerie if you ask me, but you find a golden coin and some clues. It seems these guys are after it as well. But when you are leaving the U-boat, you meet the villain. He has Sully captured, and why am I surprised? He's a well-spoken British dude. I guess we make great villains. You hand over your findings and Sully is shot. He seems lifeless, and with the submarine exploding, you take your chance to get out of there. But as you get away from these guys, you bump into Elena? God knows how she finds you, but she does. Together, you will travel through old settlements and beating a few more puzzles, but one thing you will be doing the most is shooting. More shooting. Oh, and did I mention shooting? A little too much if you ask me, but you'll go through a few cinematic pieces, surviving an untold amount of things, breaking as you climb, and you find El Dorado. But as you arrive at the cathedral, you find out Sully is alive. Did he betray us? Who knows? Turns out this is an old German base, but something mysterious happened there. Demons / zombies? This game came out during the height of everything zombies, so I wasn't too surprised, and they do justify it in the story, but you'll eventually reunite with Sully. Turns out the journal saved him, and he has been giving them the runaround, and you make your way through to El Dorado. However, they found it too. The British guy being, well, the villain, opens it, and he turns into a zombie. So hey, there's your justification for the zombies. You chase after the treasure, escape the zombies, fight your way through the goons, have a boss fight, sink El Dorado to the bottom of the sea. Sully catches up with a boatload, and I really do mean a boatload of treasure. The end. Ready for Uncharted 2 story? Let's go. This starts off with possibly the best and most intense scene yet. You are hanging on a train which is hanging over a cliff in the Himalayas, and Drake is naturally freaking out by himself, and if that was me, I would be a bloody mess. And the only thing saving me would probably be the cold, because it would freeze my sweaty palms to the rail. Would I get stuck? Well, let's not think about that. You make your way up through the train and you're thrown back to one of those movie moments where you'll now be shown how you got there. I would be lying if I said I wasn't intrigued. You are then thrown back to Drake in a tropical island at the bar having a good time when he's approached by two old friends, Chloe, who's badass, and Harry, who's British. So I wonder what role he'll play in the future. However, right now they're trying to find Shambhala, but they need to go to a Turkish museum because the clue lies there, a Mongolian oil lamp. So you and an old acquaintance, Harry, break into this museum. Everything's going well, you take down some guards, grab the lamp, find the clue by breaking it open because the map's inside. Clever. One detail though that we've all forgotten. Harry is British, so he betrays Drake, alerts the guards, and then even holds him for a bit longer to give them some time. This is then followed by a chase scene, and sometimes I get that Crash vibe, although I always hated those levels where you run towards the camera. However, it ends with Drake captured and thrown into a Turkish prison. Uncharted 2 by far has my favourite environment, especially the mountains, but I just love how Tibet looks, and the music in this game is themed so bloody well. I actually have it on my playlist as well. But you'll go through a city torn up by civil war, the Himalayas, a Pacific island, monasteries, mountain villages, and of course Shambhala itself. And after going through, you end up facing Harry. And to be honest, I never liked him. Despite the fact he's been cast aside by Lazarevich, he's all "I can't be redeemed." So naturally, he holds grenades, hurting Elena severely in the process, and Drake isn't going to leave her behind, so you escort her and Chloe through the waves of enemies, but Drake knows he must end this. And just so you guys know, I said at the start of this playthrough, the bad guy is either British or Russian, with a lot of American films, and the fact that both are did make me laugh quite a bit. But Lazarevich drinks the sap from the Tree of Life. It heals all his scars, and he's clearly much stronger now. It took me a while to figure out how to effectively kill him, and even when I did, the execution could be a little bit rough. It's a bit of a problem with how Uncharted plays, almost like how Assassin's Creed games you jump off where you shouldn't without prompting, except in this case, because rolling and cover is the same button, it happened quite often when I was dodging, I would take cover while still facing him because it would go onto the wrong piece and then I would die because I couldn't get out quick enough. But hey, the trick here is to shoot the resin. When he is near it, and don't worry, it'll grow back, you defeat him, destroy the tree, have a great cinematic scene getting away. As usual, Ellie and Chloe are safe, and then you go back to the Tibetan village, you're with Elena, and now it seems to be a happy end after all. Uncharted 3 starts off in London, of course in a pub, because it is England after all, and there's a deal being struck. Drake is selling the ring of Sir Francis Drake. Or not, because the money is fake, or there's another plan at hand. Which means the next big English thing needs to happen, a pub fight. And there's a bit where you're fighting everyone, and there's this brute, and you're fighting in the bathroom, and there's a toilet clip, and oh god, it had me all like... You'll feel that one. Even you feel that.
You okay in there? You hurt?
That's my pride. You're gonna need a plunger.
Oh no, that's so gross. However, it ends with you being shot by Cutter, and suddenly you are thrown back to when he was 15. This is like a mini tutorial / origin story for how he meets Sully. I've got to admit, it's pretty cool to see young Sully, and I really do hope we get to see more of this in the future. They use this to not only show the origin story, but an artifact that, combined with the ring, acts as a decryptor that Sir Francis Drake used. Sully saves you, and then it snaps back. Cutter, otherwise known as Charlie, from a typical London thug, he looks like he's actually very gentle and a great character addition to the series. You'll find yourself going to the sewers, tracking the very same lady you encountered when you were a kid. The theme for this game is Lawrence of Arabia, which means you go into some yet more phenomenal soundtracks. Not as good as Uncharted 2, but it's down to personal preference here, but you'll very much get a Prince of Persia vibe, and I love it. I will probably mention this again, but the third iteration has the best puzzles so far, and while there is a lot of shooting and even more insane cinematic pieces, you can clearly see they have done nothing but improve in almost every aspect of the game. This journey will take you through London, South America, France, and even Lebanon, and eventually into the desert version of Atlantis. Atlantis? I sounded very English then, sorry. Where did this great city fall? Well, let's find out. And one big thing this game questions is, why is Drake doing this? What does he hope to gain? And Elena questions that a lot. And one line that made me absolutely paranoid is, Sully will follow you to the ends of the earth. In very much of a, he will die for you. So I was terrified of losing Sully because I've got to admit, I'm very much attached to him at this point. There are some absolutely insane scenes which involve you sneaking onto a plane, having a huge flight, the door is open, people, cars, packages flying out, and how the hell do you survive in the process? It's amazing. And I was shocked and just wow the whole time. The plane ends up going down and you somehow manage to grab one of the packages as it's falling and pull the parachute, which involves you wandering the desert for days, hallucinating, but you are determined to find Sully and bring him back from the old witch. You end up at an old settlement, find some men, get rescued by some kind of guardian stroke mujahideen forces, which gives you that awesome horseback fighting, and thank you Uncharted for being the one game that doesn't kill my horse. You find Sully, get to the Arama pillars, you drink some water, and all of a sudden Sully is shot.
Well, that's a hell of a thing. What?
No! 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 You go on a rampage, chasing down, fighting annoying as hell fire demons, only to emerge later. You drank bad water, and the whole thing was just you tripping balls. It turns out the gin that you were told about was sealed and thrown into the water, which poisoned the city's water supply, which led to the downfall of this once great, now lost city. You give a clash and destroy their chances of recovering the gin with a well-placed couple shots. However, the city is falling apart, and you have to get out. You even try to save the witch. Even though you tried, her right-hand man, Talbot, is pissed off, and that leads to a big old fight. And I would have to say, this is the best one. You don't have anything insane like the undead and not too easy, it's trivial. You and Sully take him down and escape, destroying yet another lost wonder of the world. It ends with Sully being sentimental at the airport, gives you a ring, and you propose to Elena. And then it all ends. Drake seemingly done with this life, and it all ends happily ever after, and I can rest knowing Sully lived. Wait, there's an Uncharted 4? Well, I guess we gotta beat that one too. Uncharted 1's combat was certainly lacking. Never really had that feel of actually shooting a gun. I'm almost certain there were a few occasions where the hit detection was a little off, because I know I had a few headshots denied for me. There are quite a few varieties of weapons. Basically, if the enemy has it, you can pick it up. And as someone who loves trophies, most weapons have an X amount of kills with a certain gun trophy. Although I definitely feel you would need a second playthrough to get them all. The melee combat is largely the same in the aspect of its lacking weight, but it's still satisfying. It can be quite fun, but there is clearly more of a focus on the gunplay here, because as the saying goes, don't bring a fist to a gunfight. And as a pro tip, don't even try that square triangle combo that it hints at. Not once did an enemy let me slow down for the bigger punch, except the tutorial. You will face the same enemies the majority of the time, which consists of just standard grunt. Easy to kill, but there are a few of them. The armored grunt, he takes an extra headshot and he's usually packing a bigger gun, so don't let him get close. There is the sniper, and these guys either have a sniper, obviously, or a deagle. These guys should be taken out first, because if you stay in their laser sight long enough, that's a one-shot kill. And last, but by no means least, zombies. Demons? Kind of. They aren't too much of a challenge, but prepare for the horde, my friend, with plenty of ammo. The boss fight, this guy isn't hard once you learn his pattern. It doesn't change until the final phase, but he will one-hit kill you, so expect to die a lot as you learn it. And maybe this is an issue with the series, but it kind of desensitizes you to your own death. I died a lot, and I always due to the falling or jumping or to the wrong place, so I don't know about you guys, but I always just thought, I'll spawn back and try again. This may also be because with its autosave system, you are very rarely losing any progress, which is nice considering how much you die jumping around. Uncharted 2 is a definite improvement in all aspects, but let's focus on the combat for a second. In terms of its core play, it's the same. Variety of weapons, kill trophies, and melee combat, except for the fact it's heavier. But not to the Gears of War insane level, but just everything has a bit more weight to it, which feels better all around. Could the gunplay be improved? Sure, but it was significantly more enjoyable for me in the second iteration. The unique enemies are outside and inside Shambhala. One is a Yeti-like creature. This guy hits hard, so do not let him get close at all, and be prepared to fire an insane amount of lead into this guy. And even then, don't expect to kill, just to survive, because hopefully the story will pull you out in time. The next is the Guardian inside Shambhala. These guys have drank from the Tree of Life, and they are now absolute machines. If you're hoping to kill them with your AK-47, bring 150 bullets for at least one. My tip for those guys is focus one as much as possible, and when you grab their crossbow, it's a 2-hit kill. So I conserve that ammo and only use it on them because you're going to need those bullets. Uncharted 3 feels the exact same as 2, but for some reason they've just cranked the volume of the gunshots way up, and the first thing I did was go into those sound settings and turn it down. But to give credit where it is due, the melee combat is much better. It feels more varied, so in this and the second case, I was bringing a fist to a gunfight. There is one unique enemy here, and this is certainly a theme with the 3 games, which is to have at least one group of crazed or insanely tough enemies. And in this case, it's when Drake was absolutely tripping balls. These 5 demons were perhaps my least favourite. They essentially needed to die twice. Once you killed them the first time, they would burst into flames, teleport, and then be ready to fight again. I struggled the most with those guys because unless you got nothing but headshots, you're dying and trying again. Thankfully though, they are only a small part of the game, and you certainly won't miss them when they're gone. What can we say to sum up what has turned into a massive video? Well, it's bloody fantastic. I was incredibly happy the entire journey. I got a little frustrated with Uncharted 1 because it felt more like a shooter than a puzzle shooter, however Uncharted 2 and 3 quickly remedied that. Each character has a very lovable quality to them. I got especially attached to Sully, and to be honest, especially in Uncharted 3, I was sweating bullets and maybe a little bit of crying and screaming. But I digress. You could beat each game in roughly 8 to 15 hours, and at the time of recording this video, it's currently free as a part of the Play at Home scheme. This video is going to come out way too late to remind you to download it, so hopefully you remembered, you've picked it up. However, I would very happily pay full price for this game. So I think it's safe to say I'm suggesting you play Uncharted, the Nathan Drake Collection.